Namaste, good morning, and indeed a very, very special day for us. Viewers, as part of the Dekho Apna Desh series on the 18th of September, we finished with our 100th episode of Dekho Apna Desh series. And we said to you that day that we're going to bring you something slightly different, slightly differently formatted, different people coming in, talking to you, but still about incredible India. So here we are, 2nd October, starting another set of episodes. These are going to be 75 episodes that we shall bring to all of you. But this time, leading the whole conversation are going to be the guides who work with us, the guides who have been working tirelessly to tell you the lovely tales, history, experiences, culture, and spreading the knowledge of incredible India, not only to the Indians, but all those wonderful guests who've been coming to India for years and years. But this is also the year of the 750th years, as we say, of India's independence from the colonial rule. So therefore, this year is really, really special for us. And that's why, to commemorate that, we're going to do these episodes as 75 episodes to mark the 75 years of India's independence from colonial rule. And therefore, today becomes even more interesting and special for us because today is the birthday of somebody who was not just a tall leader in India, but somebody who spread the message of peace all across the world. Mahatma Gandhi, as we all know him, and virtually there must be no one who doesn't know him, but for everyone who by chance does not know him, I just want to let you all know that here was this very diminutive, small sized man who came to define history in so many ways, born today in 1869 in a small town in the present day Gujarat, Porbandar, and how he came to be literally the messiah of the masses, the messiah who carried a stick but for the non-violent movement, how he came to define the world space, not only defining politics, but defining societies, defining economies, and reminding everyone on the role of village economy. So these are the only some of the interesting takeaways from indeed a very tall human who we are fortunate that he was born in India, is how we would look at him. So many wishes to everyone for this very special day when we start our new series of Dekho Apna Desh, led by our incredible guides and bringing in special guests from all over the world. So, who is starting our sessions for us today? I welcome Dr. Ajay Singh from Varanasi. Dr. Singh, welcome amidst us. And Dr. Singh says he was born in a farmer family and then he did his PhD on the colonial movement, the Indian independence movement, actually, in the region of Varanasi, where he was born, and did some very interesting years of study of 1905 to 1920. And we all know that these were the years when the momentum of getting ourselves free from the colonial rule really, really started picking up. And how Varanasi came to be a hub and how Mahatma Gandhi also was an important figure in these years are some of the things that Dr. Singh will tell you today about. But if you visit Varanasi, you know who to get in touch with to really know those little bylanes and the stories and the heritage of this oldest living city of the world. Joining him today and adding a very different dimension to our session is Dr. Paul Wanduel. Dr. Paul, thank you for waking up so early and joining us.
It's no problem. No problem.
So, Professor works in the Department of Philosophy in the university at Radboud in Rotterdam, and he, from what I came to know about, was that he did his first PhD in Braj Bhasha, is a
Yeah.
specialist in Sanskrit, in Hindi, and is also a specialist on the Hinduism traditions and Buddhism, and is avidly working on the Asia's connect with the West and what is the connect of Buddhism today, how it travels as a thought, as a philosophy, as a way of life from India, I would say, because that's where Buddha really
Yeah.
attained his Mahaparinirvan. So there's 7 places, in fact, between Bihar and UP where Buddha actually walked, where he actually attained enlightenment. So it's a very special subject for us, Professor Paul, and thank you for taking it up and thank you for joining us today.
No problem.
The other,
Welcome. I'm honored. I'm honored. Yeah.
thank you. And the other very special guest that we have from not so far from the beautiful Emerald, that is our neighbor, Professor Thushanti Karunaratne from Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, Thushanti, for joining us today. And Thushanti, of course, not new to India. She spent 10 years in the Jawaharlal Nehru University at New Delhi. And I'm sure that's the time when you had a lot of the local street food that Delhi is famous for, when you lived in the hostel at Godavari. But she has a very interesting take on India, and she's going to talk to you a lot more about it when I give a chance to talk to the others, right? So I think it's time for me to pass on the web baton to Dr. Ajay Singh to start today's proceedings. And we're going to have a very special message played towards the end of the session today. Dr. Singh, for now, the stage is yours.
Namaste, everyone. Namaste, all the participants from all over the world. As respected ma'am already mentioned that we are very good storyteller as well. So I will love to start with a beautiful story. There was a boy, name was Monia, and he was playing outside of the house. His own brother pulled his ear, and finally he ran into the house and complained to his mother. Mother asked, why you didn't hit him? That small boy was surprised, looked at on the face of the mother and asked, oh mother, why I should hit him? And why I should hit to anyone? Mother was surprised. Such a 7-year-old boy had a wonderful question. After some days, the same boy, when her mother, she gave him sweets, he ran outside of the house and he just decided to give that sweet to his friend. And his friend name was Uka. And he called, Uka, I want to give you this sweet. Uka asked him, stop, gentleman, don't come to me. I am from the untouchable caste and you are from the higher family. So you are not supposed to touch me. That Monia was surprised and he asked the Uka, Uka, I don't believe in this. You are also a human being. I'm also a human being. And he just put all the sweets in his hand. And when he was coming back to house, his mother, she was watching the whole incident. She stand at the door and asked him, without having bath, you are not permitted to enter inside the house. The same question he asked to the mother, oh mother, he is also a human being. And I am also a human being. If I touched him, you are asking me to take a bath. So in your view, all the human beings are not same? It was a big question.
Dr. Singh, I think we lost your video. Dr. Singh, can you hear us? Yeah. So I think while we wait for Dr. Singh to join back, there seems to be a problem with his audio. Professor Paul, if I may call you in at that point, and your India story and what really brought you here, and how did it impact you? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to talk about this in my lecture as well. Something happened to me which was really life-changing when I was 12. I saw the image. It was in the history book of the secondary school. I saw the image of the dancing Shiva Nataraja, and the question was, I was really astonished, amazed how so much dynamism and yet movement can be united in one figure. How is it possible? How can people create this type of image? And this never left my mind. It has been there ever since. And in those days, I have not seen the image for real. We have a very beautiful one here in the Museum of Amsterdam. But later on, I could visit the museum. And up to today, it's in my mindset. I wrote a book in Dutch language about, well, how this all came to be. And on the second page, there is the image of this Nataraja in Amsterdam as well. So that I will also talk about this later on in my lecture. But I think it will be after Dr. Ajay is back, I think. Then I will talk about life-changing moments that happen, which also happened, I think, with the Mahatma. But I think Dr. Ajay is not back yet, or
yeah, no, I think he's having a network issue. Go ahead, Professor Paul, and carry on with your part of the presentation and lecture.
Yeah, shall I give my presentation then? I don't have a PowerPoint, I just have my lecture, but I will tell my lecture then. Then Dr. Ajay can come back in the meantime.
Sure,
we will solve the problems. I mean, problems are there to be solved, so we will solve these. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to give a presentation on Mahatma Gandhi ji on this occasion. And in fact, I was really challenged by this. 2 years ago, I gave a presentation at here in The Hague at the Peace Palace. And this was also on the same occasion, the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And there I had to speak for a very international community of ambassadors, governors, and all kinds of political persons. And well, I saw this really as a challenge. What do I want to tell about Mahatma Gandhi ji if it comes to the importance for this very humble figure for our presence? What kind of inspiration can we find? And yeah, I'm a university professor, so I'm not in politics, but those politicians are, and ambassadors are. So what can they do? I see that Dr. Singh is back, but shall I continue with mine, or?
I think
you can continue. You can continue, Paul.
Continue.
Yeah. Okay. I will continue. Sure.
I will join you at the end.
Okay. Okay. I will continue. I will continue. Yeah. So I was requested to do this, and first of all, I was reminded of the famous poet Kalidas. He wrote his Raghuvamsha, and in the beginning of the Raghuvamsha, he compares himself to a dwarf who wants to cross the ocean with just a log of wood or something. So I felt, how can I talk about such a great person as the Mahatma in 20 minutes, it was at that time, and how can I say something about it, and how can I do this? I am that dwarf, and that person is the big ocean. How can I do so? So then I came back, and for this I had to think of Vyas in the beginning of the Mahabharata. If you don't know how to start a story, start with yourself. So I thought about life-changing events. And I just told you, when I was 12, I saw this beautiful image of Nataraj from South India in the history book. Later on, I saw the image in the museum in Amsterdam, and I've seen it so many times in the Museum of Delhi, in Chennai, in the art gallery of Tanjore, with a beautiful Nataraj out there. And well, and so I wondered, how can so much action, so much dynamism be united in one figure, and yet come together with so much harmony and peace? And it was really, I can say, this impression of this image that changed my life. And now, well, that's why I started picking up Indology, classical Indology, learning Sanskrit, Tamil, Hindi, all these kinds of languages. And that's why I'm talking to you now. I mean, it's a long story by now, but I started studying Indian language when I was 19. I'm 62 now, so it's become quite a story. But yeah, well, here I am. This is what happened. And for me, the Mahatma embodies this paradox, this enormous dynamism, and in the meantime, this enormous peace, this stability. It's all there in this humble figure. I don't think Mahatma would be too happy if he knew that I would compare him to Nataraj, but for me, he embodies the same values, the same worthiness, the same divinity, I would even say. So for me, this was a life-changing event. Something happened in my life when I was 12, which changed my life. And this happened to the Mahatma as well. Dr. Ajay was just telling about the friendship between these children. This is life-changing. And the same thing happened. You all know what happened to the Mahatma when he was in the train in South Africa, kicked out of the train. And at a certain moment, he realized, wait a moment, this apartheid system, which was there in South Africa, introduced by the Dutch, by us, we're doing the same thing with the low caste people in India. And this was life-changing for him as well. This embodied a life-changing event. And I think this was one of the important aspects, one of the important events in his life that really formed him later on to make his very particular choices. And symbolical for this also is, I think, that when he had to go to England for these negotiations, he did not prefer to stay in a luxurious hotel or something. No, he stayed in East End amongst the poorer people working in the textile industry. He made these choices, and that is, I think, very important. And this is he came to love those marginalized people, and this has got to do, I think, with this life-changing event that happened several times, but also in South Africa. Now, the two very important concepts with which the Mahatma, of course, formed his ideology was Ahimsa. They were Ahimsa and Satyagraha. Oh, thank you. Pawan Sadhu is paying with. Thank you. Ahimsa and Satyagraha, these two. And of course, these are connected. These are part of each other. Can you really distinguish between the two? I don't know. But these two concepts are really basic concepts, and they were already present, of course, in Indian society. But Mahatma Gandhi gave new interpretations to these. He re-enlivened them and handed them over once more to humanity. And that, I think, is very fundamental. Thinking of Ahimsa and Satyagraha, I'm always reminded of one of the biggest emperors of India, Ashoka, the Emperor Ashoka from the Maurya dynasty, 3rd century BC. And tradition has it that Ashoka as well lived through a very sudden and unexpected change of attitude towards governing, towards humanity. It is stated that in his youth he was exceedingly cruel, and his father Bindusara hated him for this and sent him away to the country of Vidisha, far off place. And there Ashoka, apparently, at least we're not sure, tradition has it, he found cruel joy in torturing passers-by and travelers, etc., just for the fun of it. Then, one day, he caught a Buddhist monk, Samudra, who was in the beginning very afraid. We can read this in the Ashoka Vadana. But later on, Samudra was not impressed anymore. So Ashoka threatened him, I'm going to do this, going to do that. And Samudra was not impressed. Then Ashoka asked him, who is your teacher? How can it be that you're not afraid? And then Samudra mentioned the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. And later Ashoka's father passed away. A cruel battle for succession followed. Ashoka killed many of his brothers and family members. And then there came this very famous battle of Kalinga in Odisha. And after this battle, Ashoka understood everything has to change. We can't continue with this. And no living creatures to be killed anymore. In the end, he even became a vegetarian. And he had his will. He had his edicts, you know about this, all these edicts of Ashoka, the rock edicts and the pillar edicts. He's trying to make his reign into a paradise. This world must change. The lower passions, we should work on these. This is not all right. And people should be friendly. They should take care of each other. Rituals are of lesser importance. It is humanity, humane values. That's of importance. And amongst these, Satyagraha and Ahimsa, even if he's not always using these words, though Ahimsa he is using, he was well aware of the importance of these particular concepts. And his policy, of course, resulted in prosperity, in human flourishing, human happiness, these kind of things. And I'm also very touched that the word which he uses in his inscriptions for his people is praja, paja in Prakrit. And praja means the inhabitants of the kingdom, but it also means children. Sabe manusi paja mama. All humans are my children. And they are the inhabitants of my country, but they are my children. I should take care of these. And that is touching, I think. Now I come back to Mahatma Gandhi after my own story and the story of Ashoka. I'm deeply aware of these particular concepts, satyagraha, truth, the power of truth, the power of ahimsa. But what is truth? I think truth needs, just like in former days, to be constantly investigated. What is truth here? What is truth in these new circumstances, right here, right now? In our modern world, we have endless media. Messages go around in incredible speed, faster than thought, faster than lightning almost. I mean, that this type of conference is possible. That's already one of those big advantages of these media. But these media have disadvantages as well. Fake news can travel anywhere. And that's really a problem these days. And who is there to check it all? Fake news goes around. And Satyam, truth, moves slowly. It walks. Truth comes on foot. Truth looks like the humble figure of the Mahatma, just going around in the simple outfit of homespun cotton, simple chapels in the walking stick. That is truth. But he was meantime fully aware of the fact that nothing can be truth. There is no stronger force than truth and Satyam. In spite of what we have these days, postmodernism, the pluralist self, whatever do we have, societal, cultural, philosophical, ethical, religious thinking, truth will be there. And we know the Mahatma above all as the embodiment of Ahimsa, dressed in white, as I just mentioned. But there was also his outfit as the Satyagrahin, with a turban, dressed in red, also with a walking stick. And truth for him was the part of his path, the Satya, the power of truth. And Satyagraha, the power of truth. Truth will survive history, even though we all know that in the end it's always the conquerors that write history. But therefore we need to re-investigate these concepts all of the time. And what is truth actually? So now I am a researcher. I work at university. And we as university professors and researchers are to analyze, to judge what is true, what is not. And more important, what exactly contributes to humanity, to the universe, to the globe. We should think about these things. So I often tell my students, history will judge you. History will in the end know what was right and what was wrong. Ethical principles can guide us, ethical ideals that need to be considered and reconsidered endlessly. This never ends. Be aware, it is a never-ending task, and these principles change shapes at time, re-emerge, seem to drift away. But there are two prime concepts that will never fade away, and these were re-enlivened for sure by this humble yet also big man, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And these two are Ahimsa and Satyagraha. Crown jewels, I would say, of the Indian culture. And they should be so for humanity in the entire globe. And that's what I told them in The Hague, all these governing and ambassador peoples, etc. It's important. So I told them, all these great leaders, I wish them a new enlivening of their zeal, of their ideals. Why did they start their careers? What was the original inspiration that brought them to strive after such a position? Go back to those very basic ideas. Why did you want to work in this position? What was your drive to get there? And very more basic, what reflects wisdom, compassion, truth in the particular case you are confronted with now? And remember, this quest never ends. Look at Ashoka, look at the Mahatma. There are, of course, many others, but their examples should inspire you. What did they do? And you're not the first person as a governor, as an ambassador, or something who is confronted with a problem. You can learn from history. And sometimes these people have to make a choice between two bad options, between bad and even worse. This all happens, we know this. But which choice reflects wisdom and compassion? Which choice reflects ahimsa and satyagraha? You may try to get inspired by these. in your position contribute to the well-being of the others, the nearby others, and the far-off others. Thus, your political, ethical, cultural, whatever decision may become part of what the Mahatma called karma yoga, karma yoga. And that's very important. The Mahatma himself as well, he found inspiration in Indian culture, but elsewhere as well. He read the Bhagavad Gita in the translation of Sir Edmund Arnold in the beginning. He read the great Russian writer Tolstoy. He read the Sermon of the Mount from the Bible. So get your inspiration from anywhere, as long as it reflects Satyagraha, Ahimsa, truth, wisdom, compassion, these kind of things. During the Tang Dynasty, I'm almost coming to the end of my presentation because I'm taking too much time otherwise. So during the Tang Dynasty China, there was one empress, Wu Zetian, and history made her a very cruel person. I'm not so sure whether this was true, but it's what history tells. Usually, if an emperor was buried, there would be a slab stone with the big deeds of the emperor. She left it empty, and she said, history is to judge me, not my own reflections. It's history that's to judge me. So yeah, the actual title I had to that was demanded in The Hague 2 years ago was Relevance and Effectiveness of Non-Violence in Resolving Political and Social Conflicts. That was the title that I was requested to give this lecture on 2 years ago. But it was my ambition to confront these governing people and ambassadors, etc., with the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. What do they imply now? Not just looking back to the past, how big it all was. No, we have to embody this all of the time, like the Mahatma did with ideas that were much older in Indian history. All over the time, we have to reinvent these concepts, and we can learn from the past. The past rhymes with the present. It's not always the same, but it rhymes. Mark Twain told this. We must keep in mind fake news, untruths, may perform a beautiful dance for sure. But in the end, the dance of truth, the victory of truth, is like the dance of Shivanataraja, embodied, according to me, in the humble figure of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And that's what I wanted to tell you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In fact, one could have just gone on listening to you just as one was getting deeper into the whole value systems and everything around truth. We need to move because today we are on a time bound, but I think Professor Paul, we certainly need to have another rather long session with you, and maybe in person
sure.
when we are able to have you back in India. That would be so very wonderful. So at this point, though, I'm going to ask Ajay. I think we can ask Tushanti to first speak, Ajay, and then you can go back towards the end.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Tushanti, could we have you come in at this juncture?
Unmute, Shanti.
Tushanti, unmute yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, namaste everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank organizers giving me this golden opportunity to take part in this webinar. So this is the first time I present about Mahatma Gandhi and even compare the Mahatma Gandhi's life and Buddhism. So though I didn't have much time to prepare, I thought I should accept this invitation and share some of my experiences to pay my humble veneration to the great global figure, Mahatma Gandhi. So I thought of giving some ideas of his first visit to Sri Lanka. It's a great pride to us, and being a Sri Lankan, I'm so proud of that this great global figure has visited Sri Lanka. So in 1927 November, Gandhiji visited Sri Lanka. Then of course we call Sri Lanka as Ceylon, which he himself called it's a mercenary visit. So he appealed to one and all, the rich and the poor, students, even teachers and parents, employers, and even to laborers, to open out their purses and donate money to support teeming millions of the starving poor in India, to promote spinning, weaving, sale, and wearing of khadi to ensure a steady income of them. Wherever he went, he was welcomed by large crowds of ranging from national leaders to common people of India. So first of all, when I was in 7th standard, so I was reading his autobiography. Yes, I wondering what is this khadi? So I couldn't get the word khadi. So then this is the first word that I wanted to learn Hindi. This is the first word, inspired me a lot. So what I did, I went to Indian High Commission and then I asked, yes, do you have any Hindi course? Because I just want to study Hindi. And then I met one officer. He told, yes, we are planning, because I was too small when I was in 6th standard. And then, of course, 1 year after, so they took my telephone number. This is my personal experience. So they took my telephone number and they called me. And yes, of course, they started Hindi course. And what they told, like they asked, why you want to study Hindi? I told, yes, there's one word, khadi, I couldn't get. So then he himself told me, okay, we will start very new course. And then I joined to the Prathamik class. Then I studied Hindi. So for me, Mahatma Gandhi is a very great personality, because just because of his life story, I went to India, I studied Hindi. I went to India and I got chance to study at one of your prestigious universities, Jawaharlal Nehru University. I'm so proud to tell that I'm a student of Jawaharlal Nehru University. And of course, I have two mother countries. One is my own born country, Sri Lanka, and my second country, yes, India. It's again my mother country. Yes, of course. Come back to my speech. Yes, during his visit, so he gave many speeches in all parts of Sri Lanka, the south, the central, and the north. And he addressed in one of our greatest Buddhist school, Mahinda College, during his prize giving, and then the Nalanda College and Vidyodaya College. These three institutions are very great Buddhist, basically Buddhist schools. So in all Buddhist institutions where he spoke, he appealed to the Buddhists to strive towards a Buddhist revival. So in all the speeches that Gandhiji gave in Sri Lanka in 1927, he was very outspoken. Unhesitatingly, he condemned the eating of meat. He observed in some upper class Buddhists in Sri Lanka, so they eat meat. So he also criticized the drinking habits he saw generally among the people of Sri Lanka. He emphasized the fact that Buddha's loving kindness went beyond humans and was extended to all living beings, included the smallest creatures. Nonviolence preached by Buddha did not stop at non-killing, but also abstinence from eating flesh of animals that others slaughtered. He advocated the Sri Lankan Buddhists should take the lead to bring about a Buddhist revival. Perhaps Gandhiji would not have been aware of the Buddhist awakening that had already started from the middle of the 19th century here. The Western civilization over the previous 4 centuries had influenced the Sri Lankan Buddhist way of life. Already the upper and middle class were keen on adherence to Western customs. Even now, it's the same. The very fact that everywhere that Gandhiji traveled in Sri Lanka, Buddhist educational institutions and the Buddhist communities welcomed him in massive numbers, showed that the revival of Buddhism was already on, and that they did not mind Gandhiji's inclusion of Buddha and his teaching within the broader Hindu religious context. Venerable monks of the three leading Buddhist colleges here in Sri Lanka, named Vidyodaya, Vidyalankara, and Paramadhammachetya, encouraged and supported the laymen led by F.R. Senanayaka, who started the Sri Lanka temperance movement. The F.R. Senanayaka, he started Sri Lanka's temperance movement, which was preparatory arm for the independence struggle that was yet to commence, similar to Gandhiji's Satyagraha movement in South Africa and in India. So meanwhile, Sri Anagarika Dharmapala, with his Mahabodhi Society of India, was wagging two struggles. One was to take Bodh Gaya under the control of the Buddhists, and the other was to support the Indian and the Sri Lankan freedom struggle. So, if I come back to Buddha's universal message, that is in Pali, dukkha pattachani dukkha, to help those who physically suffer to overcome physical suffering. Bhaya pattachani bhaya, to help those who are in fear to overcome fear. Soka pattachani soka, to help those who are in mental pain to overcome mental pain. Hontu sabbhepi panino, may all sentient beings be well and happy. So we are committed to serve not only human beings, but all other living beings as well. Buddha means the awakened one. Any human being can attain this state, the awakening state of total enlightenment, by cultivating the 10 paramitas. In English, we call it is perfections. These are dana, giving or beneficence, then sila, morality, nekkhamma, renunciation, prajna, wisdom, virya, effort, khanti, patience, satya, truth, adhitthana, determination, metta, loving kindness, and upekha, equanimity. Of course, the Bodhisattva went through millions of circles of births and deaths, living in various forms of beings to perfect these 10 spiritual attainments. Yet he said we too can achieve this state of this state if we strive diligently. Mahatma Gandhi's life is certainly a bodhisattva model in the modern era that we all consider. We Sri Lankan, we consider, yes, he is the bodhisattva model in our era. Under truth and non-violence, one could find all the above 10 qualities which I have been told, the cultivated in the Mahatma's life and mission. In his speech delivered at Vidyodaya College, Colombo, on 15th November 1927, Gandhiji stated, I quote, and sometimes I feel even proud of being accused of being a follower of the Buddha, And I have no hesitation in declaring in the presence of this audience that I owe a great deal to the inspiration that I have derived from the life of the enlightened one, I unquote. His concept of truth as God and Ahimsa as a sense of identification with all creation attained through self-purification was in line with the teaching of Lord Buddha. He wrote at the end of his autobiography, I quote, "A perfect vision of truth can only follow a complete realization of Ahimsa. Identification with everything that lives is impossible without self-purification. God can never be realized but by one who is not pure of heart," I unquote. Soon after returning from Ceylon, he said at Sabarmati Yogashram that forgiveness was a quality of the soul, and that the Buddha had asked us to conquer anger by non-conquer. And non-conquer meant the supreme virtue of charity of life. He saw the Buddha as one of the greatest reformers of Hindu Dharma, who taught us truth and ahimsa, self-purity, sacrifice and renunciation, and faith in the ultimate morality which Gandhiji called God. He taught us to realize the unity of all life and the truth of what we are through our actions of selfless service, through humility and piety. In spirit, Gandhiji had followed in Lord Buddha's footstep. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shanti Karunaratne. Indeed, Khadi and how Khadi brought you to learn Hindi is so inspiring, so inspiring. And all the thought that you have weaved beautifully on how Gandhiji derived so much of his own thought process from none other than Lord himself is indeed absolutely beautiful. So at this juncture, I'm going to go back to Varanasi and travel back from Sri Lanka back to India. We've been to Netherlands, we went to Sri Lanka, now back to Varanasi. Before I tell Dr. Ajay to start his part of the conversation again, I just want to tell all of you what I'm wearing here as a dupatta is from the beautiful land of Varanasi. And it's been made by an artisan by hand over there, and there is just so much of art, culture, and beauty in our incredible India. That's why India is just so incredible. But to Dr. Ajay for now.
Yes, ma'am. It is said that if you haven't seen Varanasi, it means your journey to India is incomplete. So here again, I am coming back. Sorry for inconvenience due to network problem. So I am coming back, and just a small introduction was completed about Gandhi. Now I am coming back on my main subject, Gandhi and Banaras. Banaras is the land which always attracts the scholars. No need to mention here that Gandhi was a great scholar. So Banaras, Kashi, Varanasi, Anandavan attracted him, and he came to Varanasi as a pilgrim in 1902. So his first journey, it was his private journey, and in first journey he went to the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Also he took a holy dip into the Ganges, and then he went to the Banaras Kashi Vishwanath temple. And but you know the after you know the his journey, he mentioned in his diary about the surrounding area of the Kashi Vishwanath, that the area needed the cleanliness. It was dirty. It was full of flowers. So in his very first journey, he mentioned this, that we need the cleanliness. If I correlate here when our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he is also a scholar. Banaras also attracted him, and he came to Varanasi. And his first program, it was in Varanasi. It was cleanliness and development of the surrounding area of Kashi Vidyapeeth Temple, which is going to be an example to the world in coming days. So it was his first visit, and during his first visit, he also met with Dr. Annie Besant, founder of Theosophical Society. She was living in Varanasi, and Mahatma Gandhi was inspired with her, and he decided to go to Dr. Annie Besant. So he met with Dr. Annie Besant, and after his meeting with Annie Besant, he also met with the different scholars and went back. Now, second trip, it's he came to Varanasi in 1916 on the foundation day of the Banaras Hindu University. So he was invited by Madan Mohan Malviya, founder of the Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, Banaras Hindu University. And he also gave lecture there. Very interesting thing. That time, all the Maharajas from all over India, they were invited to join that inaugural ceremony, foundation day ceremony of the Banaras Hindu University. Everybody was on a stage, but when the Gandhi started to speak, some of them, they left from there. And the first was Darbhanga Naresh. Gandhi ji started his speech like that. I can see the Maharajas here having a lot of jewelry. Even the jeweler from Paris, if you see, you can't imagine how rich India is. But I want to tell you that all the jewelry belongs to the poor people. It is not your wealth. The day it will go back to the poor, India will attend the Swaraj. Of course, it was not, the pretty word to the kings who were participating there. And finally, he had to stop his speech, but the people were asking, keep going, keep going. So after Banaras Hindu University visit, Mahatma Gandhi, he went to Nagari Pracharani Sabha, and there he focused on the Indian languages, especially on Hindi. And he asked the people that until we will not speak Hindi, we will not write Hindi, we will not respect Hindi, we are not going to achieve the goal of the Swarajya. And he gave a lecture there and went back. Third trip of Mahatma Gandhi, and he came to Varanasi in 1909. And actually, here he gave a lecture at town hall ground, and he asked the Hindu people that come together, join hand with the Muslim leader, and here we have to show the unity. So on the name of the Khilafat Andolan, he showed the path of the unity to the Indians. And also after that speech, he gave another speech at Banaras Hindu University and focused on the Swadeshi movement. And his fourth trip, it was again when he came to join the All India Congress Committee meeting on 24th of November 1920. He came here and he participated in that meeting, but he again focus that we should come forward for the Swadeshi, and we should not help the British government. We should boycott the British educational system, British school. And when he appealed, the famous, the person, Acharya Kriplani, he was the first person who announced that I'm going to leave my post from the British school as a teacher, and I'm joining Banaras Hindu University. And Raja Ram Shastri and the other leaders like Dr. Sampurnanand, Lal Bahadur Shastri, everybody was in that meeting, and later they decided to say bye-bye to the British school, and they joined the Hindi colleges, Banaras Hindu University and other places. And now if you come to his next visit, so in that visit he also focused on the non-cooperation movement, and the same time he laid the foundation stone of the Kashi Vidyapeeth, because his vision was, until we don't have control on our education system, we cannot teach the people how to get freedom. So that's why he focused over Indian educational system, Indian university, led by Indians and run by Indians. So finally, he laid, the Kashi Vidyapeeth. Now it is known as Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, and he went back. 60, he came again to the Varanasi, and this time he focused on the charkha, the spinning wheel, and he focused that until or unless we will not started to wear khadi, which will be hand woven by us, so we are not going to get freedom. We are not going to get Swadhin Bharat. So it is needed. Everybody, everyone should come forward, and even in a day, you must sit with this spinning wheel even 30 minutes and work for the nation. And the 7th trip, when he came, he again focused over khadi and poverty of India. So he mentioned that if we will buy khadi, so our money, it will go to the poor people who are engaged in this work. Only the khadi can buy khadi, make khadi. So he focused on that. Also, he focused that until or unless we are not free from British mentality, we are not going to wear khadi, we should not think about the freedom. So during his 8th visit, mainly he focused on the poverty of India, and he also focused on the farmers, and he went to the Banaras Hindu University, gave a speech there among the students and the teacher, and he mentioned there, very nice thing he mentioned, I want to share with you. He asked, Malviji is collecting money from the Maharajas. There is lakhs of rupees in the fund of Banaras Hindu University. Malviji thinks this is the money of Maharaja, but my opinion is different. This is the money of the poor people. So the education which you are getting here, because it is free of cost. So all the expenses, it is going to the farmers, it is going to the poor people. They are bearing the cost. If you think this is Maharaja's wealth, it is not true. So until or unless our farmers, they will not become rich. So the freedom of India, it will not complete. And that aspect, if you see, even now in the present situation, it is same. He focused on the poverty. He asked the students and the teachers, we all have to think to remove the poverty. Until or unless we don't remove the poverty, freedom is just a dream. In his 9th trip, he gave his speech at Kashi Vidyapeeth Town Hall, Banaras Hindu University, but finally he also met with the Kabir Panthis. He was influenced with Kabir as well. So the Mahatma Gandhi, what he mentioned, that I like Kabir and his Panth because there is no caste system. There is not untouchability. Untouchability, it is a crime. It is a sin against the human being. And in Kabir Panth, there is no caste system. So I like Kabir and his Panth. And I advise to the Hindu people that this casteism is a poison for the Hindu Dharma. Come out of this. Nobody is untouchable. Everybody is human being. So this his journey, this time his journey was focused on the Kabir and his Panth as well. The 10th trip, when he came, it was 1936. And there is a wonderful temple in Varanasi. I don't think many people have seen that one. But when the foreigners group come, 90% of the foreigners group, they go to that temple. And there is no idol of any god and goddesses in that temple. There is map of India on marble. That's why we call that one Mother India Temple. It was built by Suprasad Gupta in 1918, but unfortunately, British, they didn't allow to open this temple because it may increase the nationalism among the people. So that's why it was closed. But in 1936, when Mahatma Gandhi came, especially he decided to open that temple to the all, to the human being, to the citizen of India. And finally, around 2 lakhs people, they joined the Gandhi. Whole area in 1 kilometer radius was full of people. And finally, the Mahatma Gandhi, he opened the door of the Bharat Mata temple, and you can see the map of India on marble according to exact and accurate measurement on a scale. And this is the map of United India, and Mahatma Gandhi gave the slogan, we must come forward for a united India. And 11th trip, it was his last trip in 1942. He came last time to Banaras, and it was a silver jubilee function of the Banaras Hindu University. And he gave lecture there at Banaras Hindu University. And this time, Mahatma Gandhi focused on Hindi and Indian language. What he mentioned in that Silver Jubilee program, whenever I go to share a bunch, the stage, all the speakers, they speak in English. This is the British influence, the colonial influence. The day when the participants, they will start to speak in Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali, and other Indian language. The day people will start to respect their own language, I will think, I will understand that we are coming out from the mentality of the slave. We are slave. We are under the British colonial. We have to come out from this, and we have to promote Hindi and other mother tongue. So it was his last visit, and finally, after independence, when the Mahatma Gandhi left this world, we, the people of Varanasi, is still missing him, and we have a great respect of Mahatma Gandhi, who always loved to come to Varanasi. But we are happy that our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he also gave the importance of this religious city, which play a major role in Indian socio-religious politics and scenario. So that he gave the importance of this city, and we hope in coming days we will fulfill the dream of Mahatma Gandhi. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ajay. I should be saying thank you to all the three amazing presenters and the amazing conversations that we have had today. Who would have thought that there is so much that Mahatma ji actually contributed by being in Varanasi? There is so much of history. Indeed, that's something, in fact, viewers, we keep saying about India, that every time that you touch any of the places, there's so much wealth that you discover. And today, discovering the Mahatma in Varanasi, I'm sure has been a fantastic learning for all of us. Discovering the Buddha in the Mahatma has been the learning for all of us. And also the eternal quest for truth and the eternal quest as to what is the paradigm that changes every time when we keep going deeper and deeper in our search for what is truth. I think it's been a phenomenal journey and also an understanding both from Dr. Ajay and Tushanti that what at a point in time becomes a symbol, why a language which today all of us are speaking right now with great amount of pride, in fact, but at that point in time, how it became a symbol for protest against the colonial rule, how Khadi came to define self-reliance, how it actually created a whole momentum for the people of India to fight and stand against the colonial rule, and taking back from all this the final and the ultimate quest of mankind to actually get into the truth. I think it's been a phenomenal conversation, but unfortunately, we are beyond 12 noon in India, and it's hard for me to go back to either of you. But I am going to request either Dr. Ajay or Bharti to play us a video. Viewers, today being 2nd October and also being the first of the 75 episodes that we shall keep bringing to you through the guides who show you India when you're here, but they're going to try and show you virtually till you can't be here with us. So I'm asking him to play the video from our Honorable Union Minister, Shri G. Kishan Reddy ji's very special message for the day. Ajay ji, can you please play it?
Brothers and sisters, tuned in from different part of the world, today marks the 152 birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Gandhi ji has been a beacon of peace for the entire world through his message of Ahimsa. Today, as we move towards an Atmanirbhar and self-reliant, a strong and vibrant new India, Gandhiji teaching remain relevant even today. His focus on developing the villages, their economy through Gram Swaraj drives as to push for vocal for local. In his recent Mann Ki Baat, last month, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji urged all Indians to buy Khadi products to help local craftsmen to mark Bapuji Janam Tithi with great fervor. The Honorable Prime Minister has been working tireless to remind all of the wealth that lies in each Indian and every part of India. We can progress only if every Indian progress in the role of tourism is immense. Tourism as over the last 2 years become a significant employment generation. Contribution more than 13% of direct and indirect jobs in the country. India has a lot to offer to those visiting our beautiful lands, rich culture and heritage, festivals, natural beauty, adventure, wellness, and many other themes. The last 1.5 years has been a very challenging for our travel and tourism industry, not only in India but globally. But we can see light at the end of the tunnel with the world's largest vaccination drive. Today, India has administered more than 90 crores of COVID-19 vaccine. India should soon be able to welcome its foreign friends to come and experience our rich heritage. This is will be done in the age-old tradition of Atithi Devo Bhava. Domestic tourism has already picked good momentum. I am confident that the coming months in year will we see tremendous growth for the tourism in industry in India. The tourism ministry officers have been working towards bringing to India the gems in India. This is being done through a series of Dekho Apna Desh. The first set of 100 episodes concluded on 18th September 2021. As we celebrate India's 75 years of independence being commemorated through Azad Ki Amrit Mahotsav, we are launching 75 episodes of Dekho Apna Desh. This shall be led by our guides who will showcase incredible India through their rich knowledge. I hope this series gives you more reasons to travel and help generate employment. I pray to Almighty to grant everyone good health. Let us work together to build an even more incredible India. I hope everybody will good experience through Indian tourism destinations. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you to our Honorable Minister for wishing all of us good health and also letting us know that very soon our friends shall be able to visit from overseas. Domestic tourism, as you mentioned, has already started with quite a lot of gusto. The vaccination drive's doing good. So we are getting ready. And therefore, all of you who have been making the bucket list of travels to India, I think you can start opening your closets, start opening your bags, and start packing. And Varanasi for sure. Banaras to some, Varanasi to the others. It has to be in your bucket list. And for so many reasons, it might have already been there. I think we've given you some more reasons today. on why you need to be in this absolutely brilliant, absolutely amazing land. And when you're here, don't forget to get in touch with Dr. Ajay, because he will tell you some really seriously interesting things about Banaras. So at this point, I am going to thank all the participants, everyone who joined in. Of course, a very special thanks to Dr. Ajay and to Professor Paul, to Ms. Thushanti from joining with us from different parts of the world today, and to everybody who has helped to make this program so much of a success. Thank you so much. And we are going to see you next Saturday again at 11 in the morning. And do try and see the recording. If it's an unearthly time for you to have woken up, Professor Paul did. But for the others, if you need to go back and see these episodes, they go as recordings on the Ministry of Tourism website. You can visit them anytime. They shall be a permanent repository. But till then, I'm going to say a namaste and a big thank you to everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.